Hello, I'm Martin McConnell, Public Information Officer for Ascension Parish Government, and I want to welcome you back to another one of our departmental profiles. And today we're going to be profiling the Building Department. Building Department is a division of the Planning and Zoning Department, and we have here our Chief Building Official, Mr. Mike Hebert. Hello, Mike, and welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
Yes, sir.
Mike, what does it take to be a chief building official? What are some of the qualifications that we would look for in a chief building official?
To start with, the Louisiana State Code Council, you have to get certified through them, and they kind of base a lot of their certifications, or primarily base all of their certifications off of a national-based group, the International Code Council, which is like I said, that's a national-based group that you test under. There's 40, 50 different certifications, give or take, that they probably offer. Building official is one of those. I'm not going to say it's a rigorous program to go through. There's a lot of studying. There's about 12, 13 different books just to take that examination and that test. Which obviously that's needed to hold the position according to the state as well as the parish ordinance. And
this is all under the state building code?
Correct. The Louisiana State Code Council. That's the Louisiana, where's the LSUCCC, Louisiana State Uniform Construction Code Council. And they monitor and they adopt all of the codes at a state level, and then the local jurisdictions come in and they will adopt on their level. They can't adopt less, but they can choose to adopt more, which we actually have in some instances.
Is that a requirement? Do parishes need to have a building code?
Yes. For the safety and well-being of the people in the parish.
As we talked about earlier, it was in 1993.
Right.
When we were still, I think we were transitioning here from police jury to parish council, and that's when they promulgated this building code at that time. That's when they passed the very first building ordinance. Believe it or not, it was just back in 1993, not that long ago. Okay. I do remember that there were complaints about it, that people were not happy, but the argument was, we are protecting you from unscrupulous or unethical or even unqualified builders. And then a number of people did come forward and say, yes, I agree with this because I was taken advantage of, or I had a less than qualified builder and I have substandard work, and if only this building code had been in place and inspectors would come through. And
certainly, I wasn't around in 1993 as far as working with this parish. And kudos to the first group, I should say pioneers at that point, because those gentlemen, like you said, a lot of people were not happy. A lot of people were not. They didn't necessarily understand exactly what we were, or I should say, what we as an industry were trying to do to protect the people and make sure that that their public safety was taken care of, not only in the commercial aspect, but as well as their residential and on their homes, because there are a lot of folks even today that get taken advantage of by the unlicensed contractors, the shoddy work, that whole process that the department was designed originally to protect the public from. And there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot even still today that not getting the proper people and getting the right inspections, the permitting process, even your code enforcement side of everything, making sure that your properties aren't blighted, making sure that the white goods, the trash, that whole deal that can run down your property value, someone else can affect you from what they do, as well as in a health standard or financial, however that's going to work out for you.
And I guess we saw a lot of it after the August 2016 floods. We saw suddenly it was back in the news again, unethical or unscrupulous or actually criminal activity by developers. And while it didn't help some people, it certainly allowed authorities to catch and apprehend these perpetrators
certainly
a lot earlier, because in previous incidents they could have done their stuff and be
That
long gone.
That have been long gone. And ironically enough, like I said, there's still folks who I get phone calls from and from the general public, and they're just a lot of single women, a lot of elderly people who were taken advantage of in the 2016 flood, and they come to us for help, and we make sure we do everything we can to help them, but it's very difficult after the fact once these people are long gone and they've given them $75,000 to $100,000 of the little savings or money that they had built up, and just to find out that their foundation's now cracking or everything's settling or they're having problems, and you know, it's that part of it's heartbreaking to try to, you know, to know that these people have given out the majority of their money, and they've been taken advantage of in a way that we can offer assistance, but we can't, you know, obviously we can't go out and
yeah, and I hope that when people watch this, the main thing they will take from it is you really are here to help the people, not to give them a hard time, not to give them more red tape to have to cut through, but it's like,
right.
You know, the famous old lie, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you, but you really are here to help people, aren't you?
That is correct, you know, and it's geared around making sure that they get what they're paying for. They're getting a quality product at that base standard of what the code is written to. So, you know, they have a saying, and I want to say it's if you've built to the minimum, or if you've built to the code, you've built to the minimum standard of construction at that point. So there's so much further you can go, so many more things you can do. That code is a baseline, and it is there again to make sure. Let me give you an example. There's span charts for lumber, okay, and back in the let's say 1910, 1920, they were still cutting virgin growth cypress around here. They, you know, I mean, were trees that were around for God knows how long, and that lumber, or the pine, the cypress, anything that was around here, the strength of it was far greater than what it is now, and we get a lot of a misconception is on those type of charts. A lot of the charts, a lot of the rules we get, they come from a different group, like the Southern Pine Forest Products Group. They actually give the ICC, the Code Council, they give them those charts and say, okay, this is what our lumber can do now. And if you look throughout the years, that the spans, say for a 2x10 ceiling joist, have dropped drastically, and that's because they have this fast growth wood. I mean, the whole dynamics of building construction has changed. Some of it has gone up, and some of it has gone down. The energy industry has shot high, and so you'll see a lot of leaps and bounds made with your energy code, as well as lighting, LED lighting, the whole insulation factors, your windows, the whole nine with that, as far as that raising and getting these standards higher. But then there again too, the lumber and other things are kind of getting a little, either getting left behind or they're getting weaker, one of the two, and so it limits you to what you can do. And a lot of people say, well, you know, I've done this for 40 years. You know, I've been using this for 40 years, and if you're using 40-year-old lumber, that's great. But you know, if you're using the stuff that they're producing today, it's a little bit different, you know.
I renovated a 100-year-old house. House was built in 1909, and I remember tearing out walls, and it had a lot of the old the cypress, right. And those 2x4s measured 2 inches by 4 inches back then. They sure did.
You know, it's not you know, it's and then you see, you know, the diagonal design on the bracing of the walls, because a lot of people, when we tell them about wall bracing or other things that the code requires, which is really, it's almost Greek to us at times, because and we read it and we interpret it, and we seek counsel from the council, the state council as well as the national council, to get some interpretation, because I don't know how a layperson would read it and try to make heads or tails of it. But there again too, you know, a lot of the construction design has gone to manufactured product that they didn't have back then, so they used a technique or a product that was proven, that worked. They even say it's far better than what they have now. If you were to use it, it's just not cost effective. You can't rapidly build homes and still use that same technique, you know. Right. But that's kind of touching on that part of the code in the industry. One thing that I would like to make sure we get out and we make sure that is known is, as of February the 1st,
this past
February the 1st, 2018, the state adopted the 2015 I codes, which are all of your International Code Council codes. The only one that they didn't is the National Electrical Code, which that's an NFPA document, and that always falls 1 year behind, so that's the 2014. So we went from the 2012 I codes, being the residential code, commercial code, plumbing code, mechanical code, fuel gas, all of those code books. There's a few more in there, but we won't get in all of that. But we went from the 2012 of those to the 2015, February 1st of 2018. And then the 2011 NEC, we've now gone to the 2014 NEC.
So Mike, what does that mean? Does that mean that we have to continually retrain our people or update their education?
Yes, they have, you know, the capital area or capital region area home builders, however that group is named. They have continuing education for their people. The state has some offers some continuing education. We last year offered and opened to the contractors and really anybody who wanted to come and attend a training class for the flood stuff, for elevating, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we offered that here in the governmental complex.
Correct.
I
Correct.
remember.
And that was what it addressed was elevating the homes, which is now a huge thing that's going on in the parish, where we may have done one or two at the time, but now we're doing a lot. But what that means is yes, the contractors are required to get some extra yearly stuff for their licensing part of it. We, as the building department, we bring in a gentleman every year to go over significant changes as well as any kind of training. Now, the codes are put out in 3-year cycles, so they'll have. That's why we went from the 12 to the 15, and from the 11 to the 14, and so we don't have to update ourselves, if you will, every year, but we do continuing education in-house for our people, because there are, to hold the certifications that you do have to have, there's a certain amount of credit hours yearly that you have to have accumulated to turn in. But
so when you send your inspectors out, when you send your crew out, when someone from the parish is there looking at the construction job on site, the people can be assured that these are certified people and they are trained in the latest regulations and codes that are on the books.
Yes, sir. So the obviously, let's put it this way, just to kind of give you a reference point and a touch back on something you had mentioned earlier that I don't think I fully answered, is to hold the building official's job. Okay. I went to school for construction management. I got out of school. I went to work in construction work. And
so you've been in the trenches. You've been on the front lines.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's huge. I mean, having the technical and the practical is huge. You know, and
because you had theory and then you had practice.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then I had, in 2005, I got hired on with the city of Rome in Georgia. Okay, as a building inspector. Worked under a very, very intelligent gentleman who took me under his wing, trained, you know, actually worked with me. He was the deputy building official at the time, and it was his responsibility to oversee the training and oversee the continuing education, everything that went on with the inspectors down below. Very similar to what we have here. Okay, and so I worked for them until 2008. Moved our family back home because I'm originally from Gonzales, and we moved our family back home. My father, my mother, my wife and child at the time. We moved back down here in 2008. I worked for East Baton Rouge Parish from 2008 to 2012, and then came from 2012 to present here working under Laverne Bourgeois, who was an amazing.
Laverne Bourgeois was the chief building official
Correct.
for 17 years, maybe?
If not more.
Yeah.
You know, I can't remember how long Laverne had been here, but you know, he along with I think one or two others, like I said, pioneers when it came to starting the department up. That was like I said, hats off to those gentlemen, because that was a lot of work, and it still is, but it was a lot of work for those guys. But so working under qualified people, seeing, you know, having that time to mentor, having that, as well as the certifications. I currently hold 25 of them out of the however many they have, but which is very important to have, obviously, as your chief building official, to where you can make sure you are covered in any aspect, as well as you have a good base knowledge of it.
Now you've got people under you.
Absolutely.
You've got
Absolutely.
building. You have
That's
a
where we're
staff
at.
of building
That's where we're at.
inspectors.
Correct. We have 3 building inspectors currently right now. Well, let me back that train up. I have multiple people that I can use as building inspectors. They're certified in that way. So technically there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those people that are certified to help. So one of them works in a totally different department now on the West Bank, but he aids us whenever we need him. And then I took Blake Burke, and he is now our plans analyst, what we classify as a plans analyst 3. So he's our commercial plan reviewer. He's monitoring and maintaining all the workflow that goes on in the plan review department. Mark Parscale is our residential plan reviewer. And then the council recently adopted and allowed for a permit technician role, which I'd like to take a minute and talk about. We have a lady who we've put into that role. Her name is Cynthia Moses. So super proud of Miss Cynthia and everything she's done. There's a certification for that through the ICC, because you know that job is a very demanding job, and it's a very technical job, and as well as it's a lot of communication with the public. I don't want to say confrontation, but some of it is confrontation at times. But Miss Cynthia and our permit technician group, whenever we're intending to expand that group, and their function primarily is to run an interference in between our clerks, our plan review, our residential plan review, our commercial plan review, and then this group back here, who is key to us being able to issue the permits, that being Lance Brock, Marcy Shivers, and Kiana Lomas. And
Yeah.
that group does our addressing. Lance is obviously the zoning official, but we have addressing, we have floodplain determination, and then the code of ordinance, and everything that Lance does, which is a huge job for all of those folks, everything they do. But so this person now sitting in that permit technician role will receive the people, but you know they will take the people in.
She's strategically placed
She is
in
strategically
the
placed
department.
in the department. Even the location alone is critical as to where she's at, to where she now takes these people. She sits down with them one-on-one, whereas before we were kind of, okay, here's your homeowner's packet, or here's your mobile home packet, or here's whatever, you know, please go sit down, fill it out, blah, 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 and then bring all the information back to us, and we'll let you submit it and move on down the road. And then if there's anything we need from you, and we'll call you and let you know, type thing, which worked out great for years. We're trying to see if this can be a better function for the people, to help the folks who aren't like the track builders and our well-seasoned builders in the parish. They can actually, this person can sit down with them and say, okay, look, you need, you know, these are all the items you need. Let's look through them. Do you have them? Do you have your address verification? Do you have your flood zone determination? If not, let's go let me make a phone call real quick, see if those people are back there. let's go take a look. If they're not,
And the way you have it configured here, Mike, is this is really a one-stop shop.
That's the
all,
intention,
all of
yes.
the different permits that are needed for someone to build a house or to do a renovation or to do an addition or whatever.
Correct.
They're all located right here in the Ascension Parish Governmental Complex
Yes.
on East Worthy Street.
Absolutely.
In Gonzales. So all they have to do is come in, and then your people can,
yes.
based
Now-
upon what they want to do, your people tell them this is what you need, this is how we'll go about getting it.
Correct. The only thing, and that just recently happened, was DHH. You know, when we issue a building permit, when we issue an occupancy permits, things to those nature, they have to go get some sort of acknowledgement, whether it be approval, a temporary permit, a full-time permit, whatever they're going to get from DHH to
For the sewer.
For the sewer, for verification against our ordinance, as well as any state requirements that they have, and for us to be able to issue permits. And so they have since they have some representatives here in the literally 20 feet, 30 feet down the hall now from my permit technician, another opportunity for her to be able to, or whoever sits in that position, to go and communicate with the right people and make sure that they get everything that they need. And at least, because what we were having and what we noticed is that there was a lot of incomplete paperwork. There was a lot of stuff that was turned in, and so you had that downtime of the paperwork sitting here. You had the say you were the third in line now for me. You know, I got 3 things here to do, but your paperwork's number 3 and it's incomplete. Well, not only now are you waiting on me to review it, but we don't know if it's complete or not at that point. So once the week it takes for me to go through these other 2 comes up, now I give you a phone call. Well, Mr. Martin, you're missing these things, or you know, we got to get with these people. And so what we're trying to do is do that part in the front end, to where you get in line, the 1 week passes, we get you, you know, you're next in line. It takes a day or however long it takes, and we get you out the door and get you moved down.
You know, before people start getting the idea that, oh great, paperwork, here's another
paperwork's
bureaucracy and
big,
so
yeah.
forth, I'm going to tell you this story. I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of new businesses that have located in Ascension Parish. And every one of them, I mean without exception, every one of them has been complimentary of this building department, because they have told us that there are other parishes where they have gone and filed their applications, and they're still waiting on those applications to be approved and completed. They're still waiting on the paperwork to shuffle through the system. In the meantime, they're here in Ascension Parish. They've gotten their approvals back, and they're up and running, and they're in business. And every one of those has been complimentary of your department, because they said the turnaround time is excellent, there are no undue delays, and that the service that they get from your department. So I'm going to give you kudos there. Mike, please pass that along to your employees.
I most certainly will. And that's, I asked them to bear with us, because we're still making changes, and we're still doing certain things, and things are going to be, they're going to be a little different. Actually, they're going to be a lot different than what people are used to. But what we as a group are trying to do is we are trying to make that experience flow, make everything easy, make it, and make it to where, you know, I don't have to try to pull 30 questions out of you when we communicate, you know, to get the information I need just to start the job. So we have some more detailed applications now that we're asking people to fill out. Take the time, fill it out. If you don't know, have somebody help you, or give me a call, or give someone a call, and we'll do our best to give you a hand with that, at least to direct you into what we can do for you. And like I said, everything's geared towards trying to make it run smoother, because I did hear a lot in the past that there was some downtime. Now, keep in mind, I think for the longest time they haven't had a designated commercial plan reviewer. Mr. Bourgeois was doing that himself, and he was doing a phenomenal job. But that was a lot of work for one man to do.
Yeah.
I mean, and he juggled it, but it was a lot of work for one man to do. And like I said, kudos to him. And so that's why we looked at our staff and said, okay, where can we place someone who's got the qualifications, which Blake Burke definitely does, and again, he deserves a lot of credit for the role he stepped into and the work that he's doing for us. We couldn't do it without him, as well as all of our staff. Obviously, we couldn't function without, but I'd like to give him kudos for sure.
Blake Burke, a good old Ascension Parish boy.
That's right. That's right. And very well certified through the Code Council. You know, he's a certified building official. We have 3 of them on staff, or I say on staff, like I said.
Yeah, right back here in the back of the building.
Correct.
But I know that there are others, Bernie and Clyde and
let's see, we have Michael Berthelot, who's one of our inspectors. He's working towards getting his certified building official certification. But and now I remember when I was telling you I was having a hard time remembering, but is that whole process of testing, studying, learning, because you're talking about an 800 or 900 page book for one thing. I'm talking, that's the electrical code by itself. That's, you know, front to back. Now, a lot of it's applicable for whatever and some of it's not, let's put it that way, some of it's not, but all of it is what's needed, that knowledge is needed for taking the test, passing the test, and doing your job on a daily basis, generally speaking. Right. And so, put it this way, it's not something that that's kind of what I want everybody to understand, is these guys, they continue to educate themselves, and we focus, we set goals. Okay, this year we're looking at getting these people certified in these areas and keeping going. I told you I had 25, but I've been testing and doing all that for 12 years now. You know,
yeah.
So
right.
on average, what's that? Just a little over 2 a year. You know, so I mean, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of knowledge for these guys to retain, and this work for those folks to do. But
these are all. You talked about Mike Berthelot, an old Santa Ma boy.
That's right.
You know,
that's
you
right.
Got Pat
LeBlanc, of course.
Pat's in there.
Pat's been here the longest that I know of, and Pat holds quite a few certifications, and Pat
and so these are people who are not only, they're from the community, they know
Absolutely.
the community, they are out
Absolutely.
in the community, and when we talk about this permitting process, and we try to make it as painless as possible, but everything requires a permit. If I feel like I'm qualified to build my own home or to build an addition onto my home, I need a permit nonetheless.
That is correct.
And I still need. Now, I mean, I'm not a commercial builder. I'm not a guy who does this all the time. So when I'm told I need a permit, I show up here and I really don't know what I need.
Right.
But your people are there to help.
Exactly.
And you walk them through the whole process.
That's what that permit technician is going to be there to do, is to answer any questions or give them to the people who can answer them immediately or as quickly as we can, as well as help them with any of the paperwork and so on and so forth.
Then when the inspectors come out on my property to look at my job, they're there to protect me from myself as well.
Essentially, yes, sir. You know.
And I know Pat. Pat wouldn't mind telling me you're an idiot. Take that out and redo it.
You know, Pat. Like I said, he one of the biggest hearts in anyone I've ever seen. You know, not only does Pat do that part of his job, but he also, you know, he's infamous for coming upon wrecks in the parish and seeing if there's any making phone calls to the right people, and you know what I mean. He's an outstanding.
Because these guys are really, they are out and
they're
about
out every day, all day.
And I'll tell you this
You
too.
know.
I've gotten reports from some of your employees who are out in the field, and they saw another issue, whether it was a drainage issue or a pothole in a road. And so they'll call that in as well.
Certainly.
Because while they're out doing their job, they're noticing what's going on in the parish. So
Absolutely.
They're good assets to have.
They're huge. I mean, they're huge because I mean, they spend probably an equal amount of time on the job as well as on the road. So I mean, you know, and they have 3 people who cover the whole east bank side of the river. And if you looked at it on a map, that's a lot of
territory.
It's a lot of area to travel, and it's a lot of area to go in, and these guys are stacked with a lot of inspections a lot of the time. So they like I said, we couldn't do it without them, and there's no question about that. But
now, So we've gone into that at length, the
Yes.
building and all of that, but your department really is, the building department has a few more responsibilities. What are some of the other duties or responsibilities that the building department has and does? Because you've got a staff back there.
We have a big staff. Our clerks up front, as well as who are managed by Renee Washington, our office manager, who's been here for quite, I mean, a very long time, and since the department was founded, you know, or the building department, back in '93.
93 is when they passed the first
And
ordinance.
so I know
yeah.
Renee's been with the parish that long and managing our ladies up front who issue the permits, who, like I said, keep in mind we're kind of dividing that work up, but those ladies juggled all of that stuff between answering those phones, which that phone never stops ringing. It's unbelievable. And thank goodness we have multiple lines. Let's put it that way, because those ladies, we have 2 ladies who answer the phone, and that's taking in, that's everything from directing questions all around the department to scheduling inspections. You know, putting the actual contractors calling in to get on the books for the next day or the following day or whatever, or just to ask general questions, ask where they're at, and these ladies they're the face of our group for the building and for the parish. They're who the people see when they come to pull permits, to ask questions, and again, on the telephone. We have that whole group that's doing their function. Then we have code enforcement. You know, that's getting looked at a good bit harder, and we're focusing a lot of energy towards the code enforcement side here, and will be.
All right, so what is code enforcement? You
Code
have a
enforcement-
code enforcement officer who
Yes,
does
sir.
what?
Essentially, they're going to deal with everything your blight, anything that's in the code of ordinance. Okay, pretty much. Junk cars, white goods. We're talking trash.
Abandoned or dangerous homes? Or,
Well, see, that's where it kind of comes into the building side of it. So that person's function is a dual role. They help with any zoning violations, which you have more of those than we do right now, of the condemnations, the dangerous houses, the dilapidation, all of that type of stuff.
But Mike, it's complaint driven.
It is complaint driven.
We don't have somebody just driving around the parish looking for violations.
No, sir.
We act on complaints that the public calls
We
into
do,
us.
as well as, like, to hit back on what you said earlier, is we rely too on our people, my guys,
That are out there when they see
correct, as well as any other parish employee. We get phone calls, hey guys, they got all this stuff going on, and then we generate a report. Now, we are going towards, we have, I should say, we're in conversation with the people who administer our computer program, which is South Central Planning, out of somewhere down in South Louisiana. But that group we use them for the building department side of it, to track our inspections, to issue permits, to do everything on our side. Lance, Jerome, they all do it on their side, as well as the subdivision people. But now we're finding out that they have a whole section for code enforcement, which will allow us to really hone that person's focus where it needs to be. It'll track everything. It'll set up inspections. I mean, it's from the webinar we had with the group and the go-to meeting we had with them. It seems very powerful and very critical for us to start implementing to get this person, to where this person, being the code enforcement officer, to where they need to be. And it also interfaces with the building side of it, to where, to kind of give an example, if one of my guys sees a violation, he doesn't have to pick the phone up. We equip our people with Surface Pros in the vehicles, with printers, mobile printers in the vehicles. That way they can give documentation when needed to the people, certificate of occupancies, all that stuff is right there at their disposal. That way we don't have to print it here at the office and forget them, or any kind of issue like that. We're just kind of making a mobile workstation. But those guys, when they see a violation happening or whatever, for the code enforcement officer, they can actually pull it up on their program software and find a button and it will actually generate a work order for the code enforcement. It'll the two systems will talk to one another.
They communicate.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
okay.
so through my guy doing his building inspection, passing a violation, so active enforcement versus complaint driven, it's not, we don't have officers out there every day looking, but we have people out there every day that are I'm not going to say super trained in that area, but they're definitely know how to tell if there's a junk car or white goods or something of that nature to make it to notify the right people.
And I think things will only get better.
Absolutely.
Because I know that the parish right now, parish government is in the middle of this this upgrade, this ERP software system that we're putting in. And this way, finance's computers can communicate with
Right.
building officials, with planning and zoning, with administration. It's going to be one integrated system that can all communicate with each other. So when your guys put in some sort of a work order, it's instantly routed where it needs to go.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be huge. And then also we're with that group, with our finance group, with IT, all the appropriate people and departments to start accepting. If you do business in Baton Rouge, they've already started that, and it's working well for them. So same with the city of Gonzales, where you can apply online, you can pay online, you can submit your plans. Everything that's every function you do when you walk through the doors of this building can be done online if that's something you so choose to do.
Well, I'm
and
glad you brought that up. And speaking of online, I had printed this out a little earlier from the Ascension Parish website. In
Yes,
case
sir.
people don't know, it's ascensionparish.net. And then you can go there, and one of the first buttons you will see is Departments. And under Planning and Zoning, it lists everything that's there in Planning and Zoning, including the Building Department.
Correct.
And this was just fascinating to look at. I mean, here's a whole list of the different forms of the different permits. When you talk
That's
about
right.
doing things online, it's right there, and it's very simple, and it's at your fingertips.
It is, and we've in preparation for. I'm trying to make sure it's on here. It is on here. In preparation for going live with the online submittals, because what you'll find that, or let me put it this way, I haven't spoke to the fire marshal's office, the state fire marshal's office, in great detail and length about it, but everything that I'm hearing from the commercial contractors is that when they submit a set of drawings to the state fire marshal's office, which is required by law, that the state fire marshal's office looks at commercial drawings along with everything else they do, but they have to bring that to me approved by the state fire marshal before I even do my review, along with a multitude of other things. But halfway down here, it's under code enforcement right now, but we're kind of going to change how the layout of this looks in the near future. But it says optional electronic commercial plan submittal portal. Okay, and that can be clicked on, and what that is that's a link into our system that they can submit, that these contractors can submit these digital set of plans and not have to print the plans out, because when you go to the fire marshal's office, you give them a CD, or you give them, however you get it to them, you get them a digital copy of the plans, okay? And at that point, they put a digital stamp on it, and from there, the contractor would have to literally take that PDF or take whatever document it's in, go somewhere and have a large thing printed out. Now, if they want to do that, great, works. We have Blake Burke there to take care of that, and well, Blake's taking care of all this. But anyway, Blake will, he doesn't mind working with paper, or he doesn't mind working with the electronics. We've equipped him as well as myself to be able to do that and do these plan reviews digitally. And I'm going to brag on it because it's really worked out well, and I think that the turnaround time has really helped on that, from all the way from just receiving the documents and having them immediately not having to wait on a runner to bring them to me. And then I review say they're building a school, we review a 200, 300 page document of plans, and we need 3 revisions done on 2 or 3 pages, 4 pages, whatever it's going to be. Then I have to I have to write it up, make a phone call, send it, they send a runner, they pick it up, they bring it back. You know how that goes. There's the commute time, that whole deal could cost them a day, 2 days, whereas now we can pull it down. I can make my corrections. I can pull the one sheet, email it to them, say these are the corrections we need. Can you please do it? They fix it real quick, zip it back to us within, I've had it as fast as 35, 40 minutes, and they were out the door.
Yeah, if anybody is familiar with particularly a commercial construction, you
Right.
got the huge sheet, and then
Oh, yeah.
here's this, and then
Right.
there's the framing, and there's the plumbing, and then flip the page,
Absolutely.
and there's the electrical, and you flip another page, and there's the HVAC, and yeah, it's pretty complicated stuff. This really simplifies the whole process.
It really does, and ours is just touching on what it can do, what the My Permit Now software can do. So this is an option that we did to try to kind of dip our toe in the water to see how we were going to like it, if it was going to work, if our staff can handle it, if I could handle it, if, how the dynamics of it were going to play out at that point. And so it's been great up to this point. So we're really looking forward to going live with that. Now I want to stress that is not going to be a mandatory thing for anyone, but it will be an option for anyone who wants to utilize that. And that's residential, commercial, whoever wants to take advantage of it. And we have one lady, Miss Cherie Barnes, who she is constantly taking faxes in every day, and these contractors are faxing their permits in, they're faxing all this stuff in, and so I expect to see her transition from the faxing to the online. She's working all the time, and like I said, God bless all of those women, and everybody on the staff who does what they do, and she's just constantly taking that stuff in, and making phone calls, processing this stuff, whereas now. Hopefully, if they'll take advantage of the online stuff and be able to zip through if there's any problems, it'll tell them right there. They have customer support. Like I said, it seems really like a very powerful program. It seems like, and it's proven. It's worked well in Baton Rouge and City Gonzales and other places locally that we can take from.
Your building department, you really are responsive to the people.
Yes, they always have been.
It is a process. It's something that needs to be done, but you try to make it as easy and efficient as you possibly can, and it looks like we're succeeding pretty well.
So, if there's ever any question or there's ever any doubt, call. Is what I stress to everyone. Call us and we will let you know if you need a permit or if you don't. There was a document that President Matassa and Laverne Bourgeois, the previous building official, produced right after the flood to let people. It was very informative. Laverne also attached a lot, like 10 steps for mold remediation and how to deal with the mold in the house, and where to maybe get supplies, and just trying to be as helpful as we could be with that. But on that first page, which I can email or give a copy to, I'm going to put a link on our website that can bring you to that. But it describes in great detail what is needed for a permit and what is not needed for a permit, and I just strongly advise you, if there's any question, call. If there's any question, the chances probably are yes, you need one. And we will make it as easy and as painless as possible, because that whole process was, as I'm sure all of us know, was very painful.
It was painful enough. We didn't.
Yes, that's right.
But it's all here. I mean, when I'm looking at all of this, building final checklist, building guide handbook, call out fees. Gas meter locations, where to put that, requirements for residential metal buildings. It's a pretty exhaustive list.
Absolutely. I haven't had a large hand in all of this, so the group before me did a phenomenal job putting this stuff together. Like I said, we've tried to split it up since I've taken over, and you'll see sign application, solar application, just to try to make sure we narrow down what questions we need from these people who are applying, because it was left up to however much information they wanted to give us, or however much information we wanted to ask for verbally in that kind of setting. But if that comes over a fax, then that's kind of tough to do. You have to take the time to get somebody on the phone and, hey, look, I need to know more about this, and I need to know more about this. Now we're trying to make it to where all that information, everything you need is up front. Ironically, if you were to click on the optional electronic portal for submittals, there is a list of all, I think it's now 12 items that are required. It could 10 or 12, I'm not 100% sure at the moment, but that are required for even submitting the plans. Okay, and that's for us to just accept them, and that's a lot of Cynthia's function, and that permit technician's function is to walk through. Okay, you have everything you need, or okay, you're missing your DOTD approval, and primarily this is for commercial I'm talking about, but it will apply for the or I say it will be applied to the residential side of it as well, but not in that much detail. But because there's a lot of things that they need, and that's on our website here as well for requirements for commercial permits. Okay, and our zoning department and that group put that whole thing together, and it's very informative, very, very powerful information for if you're going to do a commercial project in this parish. It kind of it's more than what it goes into much greater detail as far as where mine says you need the building application, I need the payment information, then I need state fire marshal, DOTD, sewer, DHH, SWIP, the whole 9 yards. I need all of that information and approvals or letters, the fire department as far as your local fire district. I need all of that, all of the permits, letters of no objection, drainage reports, all that stuff before I'm even going to take the plans in to review them, because what we found in the past is that I've had Blake do some review. He's done his review. He's taken a day or 2, 3, 4, however many days he's taken to do the review, and they have a zoning issue, or that won't allow them to build that big of a building. So they have to cut the building down in half. Now they got to go back to the fire marshal. You see, okay. Our department is the last stop on the train. I mean, literally, I have to have everybody else's approval before I can issue you the permit, and that's either by parish ordinance, state law, whatever it is. But that's so those items will hold me and the building department from allowing a permit to go through. We kind of get the black eye from time to time, and we got we have thick skin, so that's not that big of a deal. But I will say that we've received a bad rap from time to time when it's other things that are needed to be checked off. So ultimately, if you hand me your plans, like I was using the analogy earlier, you hand me your plans, you're third on the list, you don't have everything you need. Well, by the time I get to you and I say, well, Martin, you don't have your drainage approval, which could take 2, 3, 4 weeks, however long, I'm not sure, however long that process takes. And then you say, well, man, that'd have been good to know before now. I mean, now I'm 2, 3 weeks into this, and I could have been working on that, or however that goes. And so that's why we've decided to if you don't have everything, we can't review it. And that's what our turnaround time is all about too, is if you have the required information, you have the proper stuff, our guys, they know what they're doing, they're qualified people.
Move you through the system.
They'll get it done, and they'll get you pushed out of there. Same goes for our residential department, and Mark Parscale, he's very good at what he does, and so long as you give him everything he needs, he's done. I mean, he can do it in a timely manner. And we've seen times where there's been 70, 80 sets of plans. This parish is just exploding with growth, and we've seen, like I said, we've seen times where Mark's had 70 plans deep that he's pumping out, and he's a dedicated guy. He'll come in early, he'll leave late, not complain, and so it's.
I get here at 7 o'clock every morning, and Mark is at his drawing table working every morning.
And he's probably been here for at least an hour, if not before that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, he's very dedicated to what he does, because as they all are, and it's the interest of the people that they have in mind, And though sometimes it may not seem that way, because we have to go by certain rules and have to stick by certain rules, and You know, there's that saying of we can't break the rules, but we'll do everything we can to move inside the boundaries that they have to give us to work within, to make sure that we take care of everybody.
So you really are from the government, and you're here to help.
That's it, yes, yes. As hard as that is to say with a straight face, you know, yes, because I know that perception is not very well received, but yes, absolutely, and we are here to help. The whole staff is.
And I think people do find that when they come and they deal with your department, that it's always very complimentary. And like you said, sometimes people don't come here in the very best humor, and they have been helped and they have been walked through the situation, and that's a lot of kudos to you and your people.
Certainly.
Do a great job. Now, one thing I want to finish up with, you have a great saying posted on the door of your office.
Absolutely.
And I find it inspires me, and I copied it down and I read it to my wife and I shared it with my kids. Please tell everybody what that says on your door. Man, I wish I could remember where I came across that phrase. But it's if you're not willing to help yourself, I'm sorry, yes, no. If you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you're determined to learn, no one can stop you. And so that's about the way it is. That's the way that's the way my parents raised me, you know. That's the way that I've lived. I've tried to live my life, and it's been very helpful, and it's worked out. And I had, like I said, the gentleman who I first got into the industry and started working, he shared with me something that, you know, when I was in my 20s, I was real, like most people are, you know, I was done with school. I didn't want testing anymore. I didn't want to do all that, and I had the construction knowledge I thought I needed to get into the industry and do the inspection side of it. And he, you know, came at me with, well, we need to do some testing, and you need to be certified, and you need to do this. I'm like, man, come on now. And, you know, and he looked at me, he said, we pay for all of it. He said, we give you all the books, we send you to the classes, we educate you, we train you, all on our nickel. And he said, it's free information. You know, why would you want to not take advantage of that? And it just was like, you know, it was like a slap in the face. It was like, wow, yeah. Why wouldn't I want to take advantage of that? Knowledge is something that no one can ever take from you.
Absolutely not. And we are extremely fortunate in this parish, because I've worked in others that they either didn't have a large training budget, or they didn't have the resources available to send their people where they needed to, and it was all on you. You had to, you know, if you wanted to keep your job, you had to go get the training yourself, and that training's not cheap. You know, when we just to do one class and one whole thing could cost upwards of $1,500 to $3,000. You know, and if you had to take that out of your own pocket, it's an investment for the people that,
of course,
you know, for the people who you work for. And if you have the opportunity and they're willing that's which Ascension Parish is. They're huge on education. They're huge on making sure that people are qualified, certified, everything they need. And it's a blessing to be able to work in a place that allows you, and you know, that's what I wanted to kind of keep pushing forward, is, hey, you know, knowledge is power. Knowledge is free. Or, you know, knowledge is something they can't take away from you, the whole 9 yards. And if you show the initiative that you want to go do it, I'll charge the hill with you every time. You know, and we'll put it this way: right. We've never failed at that point. When you go to someone, when you go to your employer and say, hey, I want to become a better tool for you, I've rarely met anybody who says, no, we don't want that. You know, and so.
Well, Mike, we have covered a lot. Is there something I missed? Is there something else that you wanted to add that your building department takes care of? It really is a lot, but once again, you have an excellent website there.
We do, and we're looking
at
to
AscensionParish.net.
We're always looking to improve.
And so the information is there. You are there. Your telephone number is listed on the website, and you will accept telephone calls from the people and just work with them to get it done.
Absolutely. And look forward to a follow-up whenever we do implement all these systems, and I can come back and
We're
and
constantly
see.
improving, constantly having things in the works, and we
Certainly.
want you to come back and
Certainly.
tell everybody about it when they do.
Yep, and I want to make sure that that we get educated in what we're pushing as far as the online stuff and everything, because that's going to be a learning curve for our people. I ask that anybody watching, please bear with us on that, because like I said, that will be a little learning curve. But everybody employed here is a very bright individual, so I'm not too concerned as to the time frame, but I know it's going to be different for us. So yeah.
And you're well prepared to meet that test. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for
Certainly.
being here, for all of that great information. We look forward to having you back
Certainly.
and to inform everyone about the updates. But I hope that you've learned a little something about what goes on in the building department. We encourage you to visit ascensionparish.net, look under planning and zoning and the building department, look under all of our different tabs in Ascension Parish government to see the way that Ascension Parish is helping you. I'm Martin McConnell, and thank you for joining us once again for our departmental profile.